Part 10. Tabitha? A soft voice broke Tabitha's reverie, and startled, she quickly stood with a nervous, throaty laugh. Yes, she responded hesitantly. A smaller, middle-aged woman smiled distractedly and gestured with a clipboard to the open door. This way. Tabitha ducked her head submissively, seemed to shrink into herself as she passed the nurse and entered the back offices of the University Health Center. The woman led her deeper into the labyrinth, and they passed several open and closed doors that appeared to lead to exam rooms. One last turn, and Tabitha entered a large, empty room that contained a couch, chair, and desk. Behind the desk was another older woman, but this one gave off a competent, warm, and expressive energy that instantly calmed Tabitha. The nurse smiled at both of them and closed the door behind her. Tabitha perched on the edge of the couch, while the older woman offered her tea or water. She shook her head, visibly trembling at all of the repressed emotion beginning to bubble up from her chest. The older woman settled herself in the chair opposite of Tabitha and introduced herself as Sarah. "What's going on, Tabitha?" Sarah asked. "I need help." And with those 3 whispered words, Tabitha began sobbing into her hands. "I'll see you next week." Sarah guided Tabitha out of the door. The last hour had passed in a blur where Tabitha talked more than she had ever done before in her entire life. It felt like the small pieces of herself were beginning to be mended. The hardest realization she had today was that she was in charge of her life. Part of her wanted to give up all of that responsibility to someone else, but Tabitha would be making the decisions. Empowerment, that is what she was feeling. Tabitha knew that her relationship with Mitch wasn't healthy, but repeating the sequence of events from the past months to a stranger opened her eyes to the reality of what was happening. Tabitha's mind was a swirl. How can she end things with him? Did she even really want to? Part of her did, but another part liked the familiar closeness that she had developed with him. Therapy was a start, but it was just giving her the tools. She would have to do the work. Tabitha felt like crawling into her bed and going to sleep for years, and at the same time her skin was buzzing with energy. She walked back to her dorm room under the darkening sky, and there, waiting next to the door of the building, was Mitch. Tabitha's stomach flip-flopped, as if it were a fish trying to escape back into water. He saw her approaching, and immediately his whole demeanor changed. Something within her own eyes must have betrayed her newfound knowledge. He seemed to grow within her field of vision, and his clenched fists had Tabitha's throat constricted in terror. "Where have you been?" he demanded, striding towards her and grasping her arm. "Let go!" Tabitha's voice, while trembling, was strong and surprised both of them. Mitch ignored her and grabbed her other arm, pulling her closer in fury. "Don't tell me what to do!" he seethed through clenched teeth, and the smell of stale beer caused Tabitha to turn her face with a wrinkled nose. She tried pulling away, but his grip merely tightened. Tabitha's brain began to panic and grew limp, surrendering to avoid his anger. All the strength that she had had leaving the health center seemed to vanish. She hated herself more than ever that she didn't fight back. Instead of loosening, Mitch pulled her into a weird embrace that was supposed to be a hug, but seemed more like a physical restraint to Tabitha. The cat had caught the mouse. There was no running away now.